Oh, well, this is not a quicker question. Okay, what generally trips up Scrum teams in sprint planning? Okay, um, there's a lot of things. So a few scenarios that jump straight to mind. Number one, the team that get in, decide the list of items they're going to do and get out again. They're there so fast that they're not really planning. Let's be honest here. Sprint planning has three key outcomes. A list of things that you think will deliver the sprint goal, okay, and a plan to deliver them. Okay, together they form the the sprint backlog. Okay, and if you've got a group of people, we'll politely call them a team, who come in, decide this, and leave again, they've not done sprint planning. And in the sprint, they're going to discover that they haven't done sprint planning. They might get away with it now and again, but at some point it's going to blow up in their face. Okay. So that's one of the examples. The people who are in a rush, they just want to build the product. They don't want to take the time to work out how to do it, uncover any final funnies, the little explosions or the questions that they could answer now that maybe they can't in a week's time when they pick it up. Or maybe the person who could answer it has gone on holiday and now they can't answer it. So those ones, the people who rush through sprint planning, that's one of the big stumblers that I come across. The other end of the spectrum, and this is normally newer teams, those who try and break the time box. So they want to do it properly. Okay? This is the good thing about the teams who are newer, is they've understood it. They've probably just been on a course, or they've got somebody who's taking them through that process, a great Scrum Master who's hands-on. And they've worked out what the goal is. They've worked out what they need to achieve, and they're in planning. And they run out of time. Okay? I wouldn't stress too much at that point because they're learning. And really what Scrum is telling them there is you need to learn to be faster. Okay? Whatever that means for your team. Many teams go, oh, we need a bit more time. Can we have a couple more hours maybe to finish planning off? There's no need. Okay? What's going to happen is the stuff that I hope is the important stuff has been planned, and you have a way of delivering them that the team understands and can execute on. Get started with that. To be honest, the most common outcome I see is the stuff that they didn't plan, you never get to. We've learned that they bit off more than they can chew. That will be a surprise to precisely nobody. But occasionally they do surprise us, and they deliver all that stuff and they're sat around looking a bit shifty, wondering if the pub is a reasonable option for the 3 days left in the sprint. And it's not. Many teams go, oh, we might run out of work. It's not really a thing, is it? How often have you run out of work? Okay. There's this big list of stuff you could be doing called the product backlog. Go grab your product owner. Sit down with them and the developers and work out how best to use the time remaining. What's happened is you've learned that you can deliver more than you can plan. Okay, in your retrospective, have that chat. How do we be better at planning? What is it that maybe we're gold plating some of the planning? Maybe we can be a bit looser. Maybe we just need to be more skilled at it. I don't know what the answer is, but have the conversation, and over time you're going to find that you don't need all of the time box to plan. You need most of it, but good teams use most, not all of that time box, and they very rarely hit the buffers. Okay, that's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. You're learning, okay? And what Scrum's doing is its very job of helping you learn where you need to improve. Up to you to do the work, of course. The third one that comes to mind are the teams who don't refine or don't refine enough. These are invariably dominated by people who say things like, that's not my job. Get the analyst to do it. Yeah. What we see is they go into sprint planning and they're not ready. And by that, I mean the product backlog doesn't have sufficient items in a state where they can comfortably and confidently take it into the sprint and consider it delivered. So they start looking at items and they go, I don't understand that. Okay, next one. I've got loads of questions on that, and they start opening the questions up and the meeting disappears into answering the questions on that one item. Or they look at it and go, can't do that for various reasons. whatever it is, they're not ready for planning itself. Okay? Product backlog refinement came out of this problem. I remember in my early days, we didn't do it, and we used to go into planning meetings, and it was torturous. And we would look at item number 1 and we go, oh, well, that's interesting, never seen that before. What do you think that is? And we'd have the chat. And that took a long time. Okay? And there'd be questions spin out of it, and there'd be research pieces that we need to do to get any confidence. All the things that we do today in product backlog refinement, that ongoing activity that's happening across sprints, it's ongoing. Okay, it might be meetings, it's likely to also be conversations, bits of research and reading, and all of these things that are there to get your team ready for the upcoming sprint. And when teams turn up to sprint planning and they're not ready, guess what? Do more product backlog refinement. I don't care what the percentage is. Okay, Scrum Guide used to say around 10%. It's a good rule of thumb. But if you're struggling in sprint planning, whatever you're doing isn't sufficient yet. So increase it. Work with your team to increase the quality of it and maybe increase the time of it. Are they focused? Are they having the right conversations? Are there any questions that keep tripping you up? And it's the same question. Make a note of it. Bring it back into refinement and make sure you ask it. Maybe it goes, I don't know, in your definition of done. I'm not really fussed where it appears. You have a little tick sheet of questions that you ask. Make sure that as a team, you know you need to ask those questions, that you need to consider those things as part of refinement, as part of the ongoing conversation to understand what you're going to build, so that when you get into planning, you have a really nice, comfortable conversation. Yeah, we've seen that before. I'm pretty happy with what it is. I reckon we can work out how to deliver that. And then you can sit down and take the time. How do we build this? And you go into the final analysis and the design, and you set people up so everybody understands what needs to happen in roughly what order maybe, okay, so that you can deliver it. Sprint planning has a lot of things that can go wrong in it. It's a really simple meeting. What are we doing? Why does it matter? How do we intend to do it? That's really what it boils down to. But it requires your team to be in a place where it can do that well. It can do that effectively. And, of course, with a little bit of efficiency thrown in. And to get it right, they need practice. They need to learn how to do that work in such a short time frame. And it feels long when you look at it in the diary. There's a very short period when you actually look at how much work they need to get through. So you need to get your refinement in a good place. You need to get the team to understand that all 3 elements help them deliver in the sprint. So they need to spend enough time, but not too much. And they need to come in prepared for planning. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.